Dan Tom here with Home of Fight at Syndicate MMA with the UFC's Vince Morales ahead of his big fight with Raul Rosas Jr. at UFC Mexico. Vince, how you feeling? Thank you for making time for us. And how you feeling, with camp kind of right at the end, right? We got the fight right around the corner.
Yep. Yeah, the whole camp's kind of been right at the end. I got the notice like less than a month ago or so. So whatever. We made good use of the time and we're ready to scrap. I can't wait. I leave tomorrow morning to Mexico City.
I'm glad you mentioned that because I wanted to bring this up. This isn't kind of new for you. Obviously, you're very experienced in the organization out of it, but you've taken fights, and traveled into other fighters' hometowns without the exactly full camps. Am I wrong with that assumption?
It's a day in the life for me. Like my whole career, even back before I was in the UFC, like that's what I do. I go try to win people over. So.
Well, speaking of winning people over, I've been covering you since you're on the Contender Series. Now, results may have not always gone your way as a fighter, but that speaks volumes that the UFC continues to sign you when they can, when they can go out and sign and pick up a bunch of talent from anywhere, as we've seen, but they keep going back to certain guys, and I look at that as a compliment. Is that kind of how you look at it with the organization, going to you? They know they can depend on Vince Morales for an action fight to test the up-and-comers and move up the division?
100%. I feel like that's my label. I think that's how they look at me. I almost feel bad that I feel like I haven't held up my end of the bargain by getting more wins, whether or not that's judges or incompetence on my end, whatever it may be. I feel like I owe the UFC some good wins and big victories, and I still believe those are soon to come.
It seems like that from the outside looking in, right? But obviously we don't know your situation. I don't know what you're comfortable with sharing. But is this more of a do or die spot? Or from the outside looking in, the UFC seems to notice that you're doing them a lot of solids, taking a lot of tough fights. Has there been any communication as far as what you would like next, if there's going to be a quick turnaround after this one for you?
If I come out unscathed, I'm always down for a quick turnaround. That's how this one popped up. I told them I wasn't happy with how the last fight ended as far as the decision. I thought it was a good scrap, and I thought, before I looked in the mirror, I thought I won, and then I saw my face. I'm like, fine, I guess that's what we're looking at. But yeah, man, if I come out unscathed, I'm down to get right back in there. But it's a big fight. I focus on one fight at a time, and I try not to think too much about the future or any other additional pressure. Right now, every fight that's right in front of you, that's the most important fight.
Absolutely, and I don't want to do the opposite and think too much about the past, right, and ask you what lessons you received from what were tough opponents, because, correct me if I'm wrong here, I feel like the lessons and preparation you get from your training partners here at Syndicate MMA, I think that's almost more valuable, especially for the stylistic matchup you have next, correct?
Yeah, 100%, dude. I train with, literally, I got the Bantamweight champ in the room. I get in countless rounds with him. Aljo comes through, I get in rounds with him. I got my cousin Ricky Simone that came through, and he's going out there with me as part of the corner. I literally train with the best dudes in the world on a pretty consistent basis, like day in, day out. So I'm not just learning from the fights, I'm learning in the room, and I'm still getting better. And I think on the 29th, that's going to show.
And you mentioned that. I mean, you're facing a wrestler who can take backs. And if we're talking about wrestlers who can take backs, I mean, you just mentioned the top 2, top 3 in the division with the names you just mentioned just right there. And that's not including all the other, bantamweights that are kind of just cropping up all over the place at this gym. Am I wrong? Or is this division kind of just really hot for your gym right now?
It's both really hot for the gym and the world, I think. We're too damn small for man sports like football and stuff. So we go fisticuffs. So yeah, I got another guy here, 7-0. His name's Stav. I think he's going to be on Contender Series this year. He's been killing it. He's probably the #1 back taker in the division in the world right now. He's dirty with it. So yeah, I get in great work with exactly the styles I need to.
So those worst case scenario rounds, I take it, does that help you mentally, knowing that you don't want to get there? You've got your footwork, you've got great striking, you've got excellent front chokes that no one should be sleeping on. But if you get those worst case scenarios, right, does that give you mental confidence, knowing, oh, I've had Saab, I've had Aljo on my back, so on and so forth?
Yeah, 100%. And make no mistake, I learned the hard way of how to get good at those positions because of these guys. If we do end up there, I'm more than ready to be able to get out of that and handle it and put myself back in a position where I need to be.
And, speaking of, your division and as well as your training partners here, I would say I put Syndicate, obviously you got the top bantamweights, I put you guys at the top, but I'd also put gyms, I don't know if there's a friendly rival here, but the MMA Lab, they have a ridiculous stock of bantamweights as well, from top to bottom as well. Do you guys kind of have that friendly competition as far as that goes? I know we just had Sean O'Malley versus Merab not too long ago.
Yeah. I'm watching it. I don't know how the gyms feel or the coaches when they're looking at that, but MMA Labs is one of those gyms that's on the radar as far as our division and the skill that they bring there. All those guys are good in their own way. Maybe we'll get matched up with one of them in the future. We'll see.
Well, two excellent coaches heading up those gyms. John Crouch, of course, John Wood here. But speaking of the title, though, who do you think is next for Merab? I know I just mentioned the O'Malley Merab rematch. That's kind of looming in the air. Do you like that, or who would you like to see next for Merab?
I'd rather see somebody fresh. I like to see how people first handle Merab and like what goes through their brain, because the first time Merab gets a hold of you, it exposes who you are a little bit, and a lot of people wilt and kind of break from that. I think we saw that with Umar and O'Malley for that matter. So I don't know, throw in I want to see how he does against like Sandhagen and stuff like that. I think in my mind right now, he's probably the bantamweight GOAT. Get out there and keep adding names to the list.
That's not a bad GOAT to be on. I mean, the resumes are kind of just insane. But let's get back to your focus here. You got Raul Rosas Jr. We talked about how, your opponent styles and your training partner styles are going to be really helpful. But let's be honest, you've gotten a lot better. I don't think anybody should be sleeping that. But that's a two-way street, right? Yeah. This is a young kid. Are we planning for any potential improvements, or how do you break Raul Rosas Jr. down as a fighter?
As a fighter, I think mentally where he's at, he's still in that I'm gonna go get you and nothing can hurt me sort of phase as a fighter, and I think he's gonna bring that. I think he's gonna start the fight hard, and I think I break that by still being around when I've taken his best stuff, and then start putting the pace back on him, and now all of a sudden he doesn't know what to do. I'm a vet now, 26, 25 fights, something like that. This will be 26, I think. Yeah, I'm a vet. I plan to show that. I can hang with the best in the world, and I think people kind of just on paper, I know how it looks sometimes, but make no mistake, I got all the skills to beat a lot of these guys.
Well, I think anybody who knows what they're looking at knows you're a live dog, not just in most of your fights, but even this one. And I don't even want to, insult you by asking about the elevation and the short notice, which we already covered. Again, you've experienced these things before, but I do want to ask you about the crowd. The crowd's very raucous there. Do you miss fighting in a crowd? And are you kind of have like the challenge of the crowd perhaps maybe being against you and maybe trying to silence them?
My biggest thing for the crowd is I'm just glad there's going to be a crowd there. I love Apex because I get to train at home and it's right. I can go right across the street. I live right across the bridge. But I'm a sucker for the crowd. I love the crowd. Whether or not they love me, usually by the end of the fight, I'm getting cheers anyways. And I don't know, maybe somebody grab me a beer. I'm all about it. I'm super stoked. Whether or not I got to play the villain and try to win him over as the hero in the end, we'll see. Whatever. But yeah, I'm just excited to be in front of a crowd again, especially in Mexico City.
Yeah, and touching on Mexico City, I mean, it's a legendary place to be, whether you like history or combat sports. Have you ever had any inspiration there, any ties, any desires to want to go down there and visit, and this is kind of a bonus for you, or how's that work?
So Mexico City in particular, just want to go there because I know that's where the fights go in the UFC, right? But it's been years since I've been to Mexico. My dad's from Ébano, Mexico, which is near Oaxaca. I don't know my area that well, but I haven't been in Mexico for maybe 15 to 18 years, somewhere in that range. It's been a long time. I'm excited to go back. I think my dad was saying I have some family that I have never even met that are probably going to be over there. I hope I can meet them. That's going to be great. Like that Mexican heritage, I still hold that close to my heart, regardless of not speaking good Spanish. You know what I mean? I'm excited. I can't wait.
Well, I think your fighting style speaks to it too, as well. I mean, you obviously have that fighting spirit. Another reason why, I'm not going to question that, or your cardio, or how maybe the crowd affects that. But let me ask you some fun ones now. Obviously, you've got the opponent and all that. But I want to ask you, we've got, a lot of champions moving weight and talking about moving weight, and one of them is actually in your gym. So I wanted to ask you, Ilia, Merab, I know they're both Georgian, so maybe that wouldn't happen. So tabling that aside, I just want your opinion as a fighter. What do you think is a more competitive fight? Ilia versus Merab, or Ilia going up to fight Islam Makhachev?
Oh man, that's so hard to say. I don't know if they'd ever fight. I was in the back room when they were both in the back room when Topuria beat Holloway, and Merab and him are real close. So I don't know if that would ever even come close to happening, especially Merab holds his friendships and stuff like that real close to his heart. But the size and who Makhachev is, I think those are huge challenges for somebody like Topuria, who's already not the biggest guy in the division. I think that's probably the biggest challenge for anybody, is probably going up and fighting their best well-rounded guy, and that's Makhachev.
And if they do decide to put the rematch for Merab, do you think it goes the same way, or maybe a slightly different prediction from yourself this time around with O'Malley Merab if they do it too?
I think so. My initial prediction in the first fight was a tough round and a half, 2 rounds, and then Merab for the last 3. I think it's maybe 2 tougher first rounds because now he kind of knows what to expect. Merab through the rest. So.
Fantastic, and just a couple more fun ones before we get out of here. Got to ask, we're home a fight. We got a lot of people doing gambling, and it doesn't have to be, gambling on fights or on sports in general. You got Hanato Moicano likes the Bitcoin, or maybe you can talk about betting on yourself, or maybe not betting on a bad bet being on a relationship. But I got to know, Vince Morales, you're in Vegas. What's your best bet you've ever made? What's the worst bet you've ever made? Starting with the best.
Dude, I'm pathetic with bets. I'm not much of a gambler, but I threw. This was years ago when it was Moreno versus Figueiredo 2, I think. Is that when he choked him out? I think that's when he choked him out. I put a bet that it was going to be Moreno in under 2.5, and it was like 8 seconds before, and I bet like $10, won like 240 or something, and that was the biggest. I was like, oh my god, I did it! Lost it all. Done the next one, but whatever. That was my best bet. Worst bet. Man, I don't think I gamble enough to know. I haven't made any money in Vegas. How about that? Like, as far as at the casinos, never make any money. So I think I'm down like $200.
No worries. And last one, man, you're great with your time. We appreciate it. I've heard you on podcasts, and I believe I've heard you call fights a few times. You're really, really well spoken, man. And obviously you have a leg up on the competition being a UFC vet to, do any kind of commentary or analyst work. But have you ever considered that in your future?
100%. I've said that for a long time. Forrest tried to shoot me down years ago when I was like, yeah, after fighting, I'd like to get into some commentary. I think that'd be cool. He's like, yeah, that's hard. And kind of walked away. I was like, all right, cool, thanks, Forrest. Appreciate the support. But no, I've done it before. I really enjoyed it. I'd like to do some more of that. I plan to fire my YouTube back up and start getting some breakdowns going. So if you haven't subscribed, that's Vendetta 135 on YouTube. Yeah, man, whatever I can do to stay in the fight world and interact with some people and talk fights, like that's my favorite thing to do. I do it all the time. I love it.
Awesome, that's perfect. I was going to say to shout out anything, but make sure to follow Vince on YouTube. And Vince, before we go, the stage is yours. Any sponsors, any shout outs, anything that maybe we didn't cover you want to get off your chest? So the stage is yours.
Let's see. So, a couple things. I do want to give the wife a shout out. She's my strength and conditioning coach and my assistant. She handles all my scheduling, and she's been great this whole camp. Special shout out John Wood and Coach Danny here at Syndicate. All the coaches, really, everybody goes above and beyond. Especially like my role here is team captain. So I try to set a good example for those guys, and they see that, and they try to help me build that example as well. So yeah, shout out the whole team here at Syndicate. I wouldn't be the fighter I am today without them. One other thing. I didn't get a chance to talk about this. I haven't really talked about this in person yet, but I believe I owe it to myself to make the most out of this opportunity for this fight. So that's literally what I'm getting goosebumps. That's literally what I'm doing. I plan to go out there and enjoy every minute of it and shock the world.
Fantastic. You heard it from here, folks. See Vince Morales, of course, at UFC Mexico. He faces Raul Rosas Jr. Don't miss him on the night, and keep it locked to Home of Fight.